Now we know all of our announcements matter. Dates, times, places, vision casting, troop rallying, interest gauging, the list goes on, but when we package those into nice little, up next type videos, they get tuned out pretty much immediately. What we see is this. And nobody's following our call to action. Today we're going to cover 3 big reasons why that happens and what you can do about it. It's okay, that phone was already broken. So there's really 3 main reasons why your announcement videos might not have any effect on your tribe. First, your tribe might be tuning out of them because not everything in the video applies to everybody in your tribe. Another reason is that there might be no strategy around your announcements, which means there's nothing to make it stick in people's memories. And lastly, your tribe might be tuning out your... Bye. And lastly, maybe your tribe are tuning out your announcement videos because there's no story that they can see themselves being a part of. Coincidentally, that's the order we're going to fix them in today. Microsoft did a study in 2018 on attention spans, and they found the average American, generous as we are, is willing to give you 8 seconds before their mind begins to wander. It's why I normally talk so fast, and it's why our announcement videos need to be so short. We're talking about like 4 announcements, really 2 announcements is the goal here. 2. Pretty short, right? We're gonna need a bigger chopping block. Here's a good way to narrow it down. Don't communicate something if it doesn't apply to at least 80% of the people in the room. Now the key here is recognizing and identifying all of the different rooms that we have available to us, like our social media pages, our email lists, our live church services. All of these represent different spaces with different people from your tribe on the inside. Now since each room needs its own set of messages, we're gonna need to do a whole lot more work up front in terms of divvying up what people need to know what things to make sure that only the people who need to know get that information. Because the resulting videos are so short though, you're gonna see more people watching, and because it's always relevant to them, you're gonna gain a lot of trust from your tribe to watch the next one. Trust that you're not wasting their time. You'll start to see people leaning in instead of leaning back when you have an announcement to share. It's really worth it to be intentional about this 80% cutoff, but I also recognize that it can probably lead to some conflict that you may already have playing out in your head. Like, what if more than 2 things apply to everyone this week? You're gonna run into this less than you think if you really commit to that 80% cutoff level, but that doesn't mean the problem's unsolvable. Remember, one of the other reasons that our tribe tunes out of our announcement videos is that there's no coherent strategy around the information that we're announcing, and that strategy is absolutely the key to solving those internal conflicts. Your announcement videos should really just be one slice of a big old communication pie. Think about all the other avenues available to you: social media posts, email blasts, a mass texting service like MojoText, slides that can run before and after your live events, print media like flyers or business cards. We need to use every relevant tool if we're gonna get the message to stick with all the right people. My friend Zach Worley over at LifePoint Church uses this analogy. Your video is like a really talented worship leader. You give him or her an acoustic guitar and boy does worship happen. Unfortunately, that talent can only go so far if you don't surround them with the right band, the proper equipment, and so on. Otherwise, they can only be heard by a handful of people before their talent is just swallowed up by the ambient noise of your sanctuary. Our strategy is the tech, the band, and the acoustic design of the room, and it amplifies our videos to make sure that they have the impact we know the content is capable of having. Here's a practical example of that situation. Suppose you're holding a bake sale to raise money for your nonprofit. I know, to some of you, those are so 2005, but let's just pretend together. We've been told by our leadership to make sure that people like Susie, a member of our tribe who's old enough to participate and enjoys baking, and enjoys participating in bake sales, knows when, where, and what to bake. I've intentionally picked something that throws a curveball into the system I just taught you. We may not have a room where 80% of the people are like Susie. That means our first priority needs to be making that room. For this, I think an email list would work really well for people like Susie. So here's how a strategy can get the people who need to know in the know. We first post on Facebook, where members of our tribe who are about Susie's age like to connect with us during the week, that we've got a bake sale coming up on a certain date. We can share that a couple times on multiple days and at different times of the day, with the call to action always being to go sign up for our email list for more info. Now, as we get closer to the date, we'll also mention it at one of our monthly Zoom calls with insiders. You know, the ones where we encourage the people who are all in on everything we do. We only mention it once, just near the beginning, and it's all we mention. But we just say, hey, we've got this event coming up. We'd love to have you participate. If you can bake these things, maybe some brookies. Brookies. Susie remembers seeing something about a bake sale from our Facebook that one time, and so she connects this information with an existing memory, which makes it a lot more likely to stick. Now, a week or maybe even 2 weeks before the actual bake sale, we make the announcement video. The video says clearly and concisely when, where, and what to bring, and it gives a clear call to action. Sign up for an email list to get involved. At this point, we've filled a room with people we know are interested. Now that we've earned their attention, we can start communicating all the details. A few days before the sale, we email that list a reminder of when, where, and what to bring. By using a strategy, we've taken a lot of the pressure off of our announcement videos, and we've freed up about 6 weeks from even needing that announcement to be in a video at all. Now I want brookies. The key to making a strategy like this work is staying ahead of yourself, at least 6 weeks ahead of yourself. You're doing this thing to support a vision of a world impacted by your organization and its tribe. Isn't it worth planning that out in advance so that you can communicate it exceptionally well and be sure the tribe shows up? As a bonus, we've just created a room that we can reuse in the future with this email list. So in the future, we can on-road people to events like this one even easier.
This long-term strategy works really well because of how our brains form memories. The Queensland Brain Institute in Australia explain it pretty well. Inside your brain are these neurons, little dudes just minding their own business. But when your brain is stimulated by some kind of input, like the smell of a brookie or the sound of rain on tin rooftops, or, well, really any of your 5 senses, those neurons are responsible for figuring out what it means. They stop what they're doing on their own and they form these little patterns or groups, and they talk to each other about it in order to figure out what it means. One neuron figures out it smells like a cookie, another one says it looks like a brownie, and eventually they figure out it's a brookie. It's a game of telephone. Now, every time a neuron talks to another one in that game of telephone, they toss over a cup with a string attached called a synapse. These pathways are how they communicate, and the more often they talk to each other, the more cups and strings there are between them all, tangled up into a pretty strong rope. That rope is a memory being formed. So by spreading out our messaging over a long time, like 8 weeks, Susie and all the other members of our tribe who care about bake sales form a good strong memory as they connect the dots of when to where to what to bake and so on. They don't even realize that we're building this longer chain in our game of telephone, but ultimately that's what makes it stick. It's not repetition, it's strategic repetition that makes something stick in your tribe's memory. So far, we've talked about saying less more and more different times as a solution to keeping the tribe up to date. The last key, the last missing piece of our puzzle is the most fun one. Storytelling. In Phil Bowdle's book, which is called Rethink Communication, there is some amazing research. Here's one of the facts that blew my mind. The average person sifts through 10,000 branded messages every single day. Imagine the game of telephone going on in our brains to try and process all that. That is so much background noise, but we can cut through that noise by telling stories, and the right kinds of stories. Here's the basic layout of a story. A subject has a goal, a desire, but they can't get it because there's an obstacle that they just can't overcome. Luke wants to become a Jedi, but the only person who could teach him dies on the first Death Star. How the hero overcomes that obstacle, or if they overcome it, is where the creativity comes into play, and it's where we need to be sure we're telling the right kind of story. See if you can spot the difference between these two different ways of announcing a bake sale. Hey tribe, we've got a bake sale coming up on Wednesday, the 5th of June, and we really could use some more volunteers to bake things in order for us to hit our goal of $700. With the pandemic, we know you can't go overseas and support our partners like usual, so we've been looking for ways that we can support them in their mission from here. On July 12th, we found a great opportunity for you, a bake sale that will raise money to keep our partners going. If you've been looking for a way to stay connected, we've got an email list where you can get all the information you need to participate. Sign up at this website. The big difference is that in the second option, we've left an opening in our story for our tribe to be the hero. The language in our first version is all about us. We've got a sale, our goal, but it doesn't tell them how they impact the bigger story by participating. But the second version communicates that they are the hero, and the obstacle is that the normal channels of support are down. We're not Luke, we're Yoda, providing the opportunity our tribe needs to do what they already want, which is impact our partners. Now there's a fine line between casting your tribe as the hero and being manipulative. Notice that I didn't say, without you, people will starve, or remember, this is what it means to be a member of our tribe, or we really need your help to hit that $700 goal. Guilt and shame are manipulative, and nothing will cut your tribe apart like hearing leadership try and guilt people into participating in something. But I know you're not that kind of leader. You've cast a great vision that your tribe are bought into, and they can't wait to support you. And that's why these 3 tweaks ultimately add up to greater impact for your organization. And frankly, that's what happens on the next level. Greater impact. Speaking of impacting, if you were impacted by the subscribe button in today's video, give it a pat on the back, show it some support. I'm Josh Hughes, and I can't wait to see some announcement videos I actually remember. Later, fam.